From the WKYT streaming studios, it's the Afternoon Buzz with Dave Baker.
Hey, welcome in on this Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon. It is, not morning. It feels like it's morning because everything is just has started so early today. But thank you all for being with us and welcome in. Lots going on as we roll down toward Christmas on Thursday. For a lot of people, this is your last day in the office. That's okay. For a lot of people, you're already done with your last day in the office. And you are, if you're not already, you're going to be at Rupp Arena because the Cats get set to play Bellarmine at 1 o'clock, top of the hour, as they take on the Knights. Good team, but a game that Kentucky certainly ought to handle, especially after Saturday. But, you know, emotions and everything, it's different. It's different. But there are a couple of things that I want to talk about as it relates to this game, and I touched on it briefly yesterday, but I want to make sure we go back and we touch it again. And that is what Jalen Lowe and Jaden Quaintance did Saturday. I mean, in this day and age where Kirby Smart, the Georgia football coach, went on a big rant yesterday about the fact that guys are announcing whether they're staying, whether they're going in the portal. And he said, how about just trying to get better during this period of time? And so there are a lot of people that think that that's not the case with today's athlete. But man alive, what these guys have done and what they did leading up to Saturday. I mean, first of all, let's go to Lowe. And the fact that he had that shoulder injury and was out, I think it was for 5 games, and then came back. And then just when everything was crescendoed on Saturday, all of a sudden he gets hit in the darn thing again. Goes back into the locker room, and all the euphoria that was there from the fact that Quaintance had returned, that all disappeared in a hot minute because people thought once he did that again and the way he was holding it, he thought he was done. I don't think there's anybody that thought that he wasn't done. And so he goes straight back to the locker room and then comes out, starts shooting to warm up the second half, and just absolutely played his tail off. And then let's go ahead and let's just talk about Quaintance for just a second. And what he did leading up until Saturday. 9 months and a day to the time that he had major knee surgery for a torn ACL. And he, along with the staff at UK, trainer, assistant coach, team doctor, strength and conditioning coach, he's back. He's back. And you see what he can do right there. But, I mean, this is a guy that is generally regarded, and you see that interaction there with Lowe. I always worry when those guys smack him on the back or something, and that right shoulder is right there. But I digress. So, he's in a position where he could be, and probably is, a top 10 pick in the draft. And the easiest thing for him would have been, just to rehab, have workouts for the teams, and not risk that injury. But that kid wanted to play. And it's not because of NIL or anything else. It's because that young man loves basketball. And what he did, sacrifices he made to get back, nothing short of incredible. I mean, one of the things that people like to do now is they like to use these quotes where they talk about superhuman power. What's your superpower? Well, this kid has just got a whole lot of want to. And these days, again, I don't mean to sound like old man get off my grass, but these days a lot of kids, they just don't understand sacrifice sometimes. And it's our fault. We've made them like this and tried to provide for them and have it better than we did. But, man, what these two dudes did and the way that not only with their play, but with their presence, the way they lifted up their teammates. Sure, when Lowe and Quaintance are on the floor, this is a much better basketball team. But emotionally, the lift that they gave this team is something that cannot be discounted. And another thing that can't be discounted is this is the day and age, thanks to social media, of the hot take. And everybody wants to have a comment or something about what's going on, right? And so people at the half were jumping ship and season's over. And I mean, all kinds of stuff. And then they come back and they look like an entirely different team. I'll tell you what else looks entirely different, too. Is a lot of folks really went after Mark Pope when things were going tough. And we've had this narrative around here over the last couple of weeks or so about how he needs a general manager, about how he's too emotional when he goes out and recruits kids, about a lot of different things. And with those two guys healthy, don't you think his trip into the portal this year was successful? One other person to give a shout out to, Jasper Johnson. Jasper Johnson played some EYBL stuff with Quaintance. Really kept talking to him about wanting to come here, and the two of them team up. And so give Jasper a big tip of the hat as well. So now what they've got is they've got the Bellarmine game today. Then they're off for a whole week and a half. They don't play again until January 3rd, SEC opener at Bama. And so they've got a chance to get these guys healthier, to stretch them out even more at practice. Mark Pope said on his show last night he hoped very soon he could stretch Quaintance out enough in practice where he didn't have to put him on a minutes limitation. So we'll see what happens today and see if they can build on what they discovered in the second half on Saturday down in Atlanta. All right, a lot more to go. We told you about the bourbon tariffs yesterday. Interesting take on it. We will talk about that and much more when we come right back on the Afternoon Buzz.
From the WKYT streaming studios, it's the Afternoon Buzz with Dave Baker.
Hi there, everybody. Welcome back in on this Tuesday afternoon. However you're watching, whether it's on demand or watching it live, we so appreciate you being here with us. And yesterday, we talked about the fact that Jim Beam, one of the larger distilleries here in the state, is basically stopping production for, stopping production for a year, starting on January 1st of this year, next week, and they won't produce anymore at this point in time until 2026. Now, there are a couple of different reasons for this. Number one, drinking has gone down. People aren't drinking as much. There has been, and because of the success of bourbon and the Kentucky Bourbon Trail, there are a lot of people that have now gotten into the bourbon space, and it's become very crowded. And sometimes it's tough to differentiate. And so we have seen a number of different sort of brands that have come on the scene, and some have not made it a long time. And so that's one of the big reasons. But the other reason is a lot of people are pointing to the tariffs. And particularly what is going on in the world of politics and our relationship with Canada. Kevin O'Leary, the guy from Shark Tank, right? He tweeted yesterday, quote, "This is a self-inflicted mess. When a major bourbon producer shuts down for a year, that's not the market talking. That's politics getting in the way of common sense. The LCBO, which is the Liquor Control Board of Ontario, one of the largest buyers of American liquor in the world, has effectively shut U.S. products out. You can't even buy American wine right now in Ontario. So shelves get filled with French bottles and Japanese whiskey instead. That's real demand and real revenue being handed to everyone else. Canada and the U.S. should be inseparable trading partners. Canada has the resources America needs. America has the largest consumer market Canada relies on. Playing tariff games between neighbors is stupid and completely unnecessary. There shouldn't be tariffs between allies. This hurts business on both sides of the border." Now listen, O'Leary has made a lot of money, and it's not just the Shark Tank stuff either. And I know that President Trump has been really vocal about the fact that he believes the tariffs are working. And, sometimes in these situations, some people get dinged more than others. But it's obvious that the ding is a little bigger as it involves the bourbon industry. I'll tell you what else it's involved as well, is it's involved tourism. And, we don't have a lot of people that in Kentucky that go north a lot, unless they're going skiing or something like that. But because of the climate and everything, we have a lot of people from Canada that come south. One of the places they come to is Kentucky. One of the reasons is the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. Another reason is if they go even further south, this is a great stopping point. But I can tell you that as far back as, I want to say, September, October, that it was already hitting in Kentucky in terms of places that people stay, campgrounds where they might break up their trip and do touristy kind of things. And so it'll be interesting how this happens. Now, the the union rep from over there at Jim Beam in Claremont, says right now that it doesn't look like there are going to be any layoffs. At 1,600 people, and I'm sure they can find something for them to do, and I'm glad to hear that. But the reality is you can't be sitting on a year's worth of inventory for too long and continue to be successful. So it bears watching, not only what happens with the bourbon business in particular, but what happens to the tariff deal. And that will be something we will be keeping our eye on. Okay, we've got one more thing, a little common sense, a little good-heartedness, if you will. Yeah, we can say that, right? That's you can do that, right? Yes, you can do that. Okay, we're going to do that when we come right back on the Afternoon Buzz. Welcome back into the Afternoon Buzz, our final segment here. I just want to end with something about the season. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the former White House press secretary, now governor of Arkansas, she has not been afraid to talk about things that she believes in. Remember her and her family were basically run out of a restaurant when she was press secretary. And so she wrote this letter yesterday, and I just want to have some excerpts here from it. And I'm reading off the phone, so please forgive me. But she says, the FFRF took issue with me closing state offices to celebrate Christmas and sent a letter demanding that I rescind my proclamation. Christmas isn't just a holiday, it's the celebration of Jesus Christ's birth. Meaning matters. We won't pretend otherwise. See my response here. Now, the FFRF is the Freedom from Religion Foundation in Arkansas. And so I will read from this letter just briefly. She replies to the guy there. Dear Christopher, earlier this week, I issued a proclamation closing state offices on Friday, December 26th to celebrate Christmas and offer state employees more time with their families. I am in receipt of a letter from your organization calling for me to rescind it. Quote, gives a detailed theological calling on me to rescind the proclamation because it gives a detailed theological narrative presenting core Christian doctrine, including the divinity of Jesus Christ, his crucifixion for the sins of mankind, his resurrection, and his anticipated return to glory. She simply says, please know that I will do no such thing. I will end by saying you missed the point of my proclamation. It's not to browbeat readers with a Christian doctrine, but rather to point to the humility of Christ's birth and the amazing fact that the King of Kings was born not in a palace or a temple, but in a humble manger attended only by poor shepherds. It is the spirit of that humility that I am reminded that Christ did not dine with wise Pharisees or rich men, but rather with fishermen and outcasts. Though you may enter this season with bitterness, know that Christ is with you, that he loves you, and that he died for your sins just the same as he did for mine and everybody else's. That's a fantastic response, and it's a good way to end it today. Remember, Cats take on Bellarmine at the top of the hour. Highlights coming up a little bit later. I'm sure the gang will give it the 411, the recap at Game Time Unplugged. So until tomorrow, I'm Dave Baker. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next time on the Afternoon Buzz.